Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Tuesday morning, March the 3rd, 2026. And we are this week looking at Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 7, which is one of the stories about the people in the wilderness and complaining about the lack of water. I'm going to read these first two verses and offer a few reflections and then close us with prayer. So this is Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 and 2. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages, as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" So this is a story that takes place in the wilderness as after the people have left Egypt. And they were indeed led by Moses into this wilderness. And it is a difficult place, almost certainly the wilderness is a wilderness of the desert. That is not a place where water is going to be plentiful. And so not too surprising that they should encounter difficulties. But of course, also the other role here of the story is not simply geographical, it's also probably more importantly theological. That is, that the people find themselves in a wilderness. And it does strike me that in this story, how easy it is for us to identify with the people of Israel, that is, with the people who have come out of slavery, out of bondage, and very difficult lives, but have now moved into a wilderness with where there's less certainty even than you had in bondage and in slavery. There's something kind of interesting about our allowing ourselves to live in slavery to things around us, and that is that it is familiar. It has its certainty. We know what's going to happen. We know when it's going to happen. There's a certainty, a familiarity with living in bondage, with living in slavery to things around you. By contrast, living in faith does not have this kind of certainty. That is, after being freed from their slavery, the people now have to live with uncertainty. And of course, that is its own sort of challenge. It requires faith. In this case, it requires not only faith in God, but also faith in Moses' leadership. It requires trusting those that have been given some authority in your life or some leadership in your life, being able to trust, and perhaps even more importantly, being able to work with people without quarreling with them. That is, without making things more difficult by how you engage with people. You can see in this case almost immediately it becomes contentious and difficult because Moses' response to their request was not, okay, let's find some water, but why are you fighting with me? Why are you quarreling with me? So Very interesting context that I think we can relate to. That is, being in the wilderness, being surrounded by uncertainty and the things in our lives that we don't have control over, and how to be in those contexts, how to be in relationship to God and with people around us. So this, I think, is a very, very relatable text. Let's close with this word of prayer from W.E. Orchard. O God, thou knowest how our hearts yearn after thee. Thou hast heard the prayers which plead for thee to manifest thyself to us. And sometimes it has seemed that there was none to hear and none to answer us, for when we asked to see thy power, we saw only a child set in our midst, and we felt we had been mocked. Yet afterwards we saw all the beasts of the field and all the powers of the earth led captive by that little child. We prayed for a revelation of thy glory, that we might wonder and worship and never doubt again. And then the sunlight failed at noonday, and outside a city wall a lonely cross was reared against a darkened sky, and our very hope became despair. Yet often since we have seen that cross again, now an ornament of grace, a holy symbol before which people bowed, a banner of victory and a sign of faith. People call on thee to give them light on the sufferings they're forced to bear, and only the more does the sense of pain press in upon their hearts. They find it hard to believe that pain is the sign of our progress, the promise that all things shall one day be redeemed. Yet we thank thee that thy revelation is breaking through, and that thy ways are being learned. O thou who travailest in us to lead us to a higher peace, who livest by yielding thyself to the uttermost, who art mighty only in mercy, and strong only in humility, reunite us to thyself, and make thy perfect will our own. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.